und die Schier, die Ohnmacht kriegen. Bier her, ohne Extralbund.
Well, my friends, it's time for another giveaway, and the video that I just uploaded a few days ago, it was Australian themed, as you know. The gangster mole Pretty Dulcie Markham, and hence the Australian themed giveaway, the Aboriginal painting. That was won by Carla. It's already on the way to her, and I'm happy to hear that the previous giveaway prize, the Queen Astrid memorial stamps in their beautiful antique oval frame, won by Myra. She was getting worried it hadn't turned up. It was only sent by Economy Post. She had written about a day before that saying that she was sad that it hadn't turned up. She thought it had got lost, and it arrived the very next day. So I'm happy that that got there, and onwards. So we now have a new giveaway. It's the Beer Krug, and somebody has to win it. The next presentation is going to be German themed. It's about a very strange German serial killer. And the area where he committed his crimes is a well-known red light district with lots of beer halls. So I thought, what a perfect time to give away a beautiful German ceramic beer Krug, or Beer-stein. This one is a really nice example, and I love the colouring on it. I just love it. And the handle, it really is fantastic. I'm not sure how old it is, really don't know. It's got markings on the base, which I'll show you here. West Germany. Certainly some decades old, but I can't give you a date. But I can tell you that I tested it last night at my workshop. I had an American friend around, so I got some beers out of the fridge, and I thought I will test the Krug, the Stein, a perfect beer. A perfect beer is to be drunk from this Stein. I can guarantee that. And when you have it in your cabinet in the living room, in many years when I'm long gone, you can say Oddie Beau drank out of this beer Krug. So there it is. And look at the monk. He's loving that. He's getting that ale down. Did you notice those postcards at the start? They're sweet. It's interesting that the Czechoslovakians have a similar beer drinking tradition to the Germans. And when I was much younger, I was working for a decorating company, and there was an old Czechoslovakian carpenter there, or a cabinet maker to be precise. And he was telling me that as a child in Czechoslovakia, the children would drink beer because the parents thought that the water was contaminated for some reason. He may have told me, I've forgotten now, but so all the children drank beer. And he actually was an alcoholic, so I'm not sure if it was such a good idea. An interesting story from my memory banks. And anyway, you're probably wondering why on the screen there is now a beer tin shield. You're thinking, surely there can't be that included in the giveaway too. Well, yes, indeed. I'm including this beautiful shield here depicting two men discussing the merits of Pilsner Urquell, das Bier für den Kenner, means the beer for the connoisseur, imported as Pilsen. I didn't even know there was a place called Pilsen, so that's where they must get the name Pilsner from. I used to love Pilsner in Australia, Rescher's Pilsner. So this shield is included. It's embossed. It really is a nice example. So those two items are going to go to a lucky winner. And now I have to try and find a giveaway question. As you know, people who've been subscribed to my Patreon for some time now know that I'm not allowed to conduct random giveaways. I would love to, but so I have to ask a question and it has to be answered. Otherwise, it goes against Patreon regulations. We wouldn't want to do that, would we? Okay, I've racked my brains. Really can't think of an interesting question. So all I'm going to ask is to keep it fair for the non-drinkers is, do you have an interesting or humorous story involving drinking from your youth? Or do you know an interesting story involving a family member and drink? I'm sure there's some funny stories out there, and I want to be amused, so amuse me. I'm going to drink from this Krug while I read your stories once they're all in and collected. I want to be amused. It doesn't have to be humorous, it could be a touching story, so you've got time to think about this. Anything happened in your wild younger days, or somebody that you know, an amusing story, I want to hear it. Get it out there. You've got about a couple of weeks, more than a couple of weeks, to get your entries in. Please don't put it under the YouTube video. I post it on YouTube, so I can put the URL on here on Patreon. All the comments have to go under here, under Patreon. Sign into Patreon, put your comments underneath. so I can see them all together. Otherwise you will not be able to participate in the competition. I think that's about it. We'll go out with the beer hall song. Catch you next time, my friends. Bye bye.
Wer nicht mit Hause, der bleibt allein. Egite collegialis, pos multa secula popula nulla. Pos multa secula popula nulla. Pos multa secula popula nulla. Auf, ihr Brüder, und hebt den Bacchus auf den Thron und setzt euch nieder, wir trinken schon. Benedicte collegialis, post multa secula popula nulla. Post multa secula popula nulla. Post multa secula popula nulla.
From that very same footage of the Oktoberfest in the early 1960s, 1961, I just caught this snippet here of a guy walking past a stand, and to the top left there you see an old rounded Coca-Cola shield from the 50s. Trink Coca-Cola ice cold. Drink Coca-Cola icy cold. Translated, I have that very same shield. Here it is, look at that. It's really good when you have vintage advertising and you suddenly spot it in old photos or old postcards or old film footage. I really like that. And so the first time I've actually seen that shield in some original film footage, and even better at the Oktoberfest. Wonderful. By the way, those of you who haven't been notified of the most recent upload on Patreon, the documentary about the gangster mole Dulcie Markham, here's the trailer. Check it out. Pretty Dulcie Markham didn't choose to be Australia's most notorious gangster mole. That life chose her, or so she would claim. Many men in relationships with her ended up in an early grave in gangland killings, so much so that the press dubbed her the Angel of Death. But Pretty Dulcie said she was just an ordinary gal. In her own words, "Believe me, I'm just an ordinary girl. These things have been thrust upon me." Join me on Patreon, where I look back at the highs and lows of Dulcie's life, and that of the other female underworld personalities who shared her world in the 1920s razor gang era.
I was pert, more than ordinarily pretty, and fellas took a lot of notice of me.